tree board.
But Councilman, correct me if I'm wrong, there's certain committees that are not subject to OMA that don't have public works tree?
These two are not OMA, but city resolution to have meetings recorded for all advisory committees. Was that, I'm sorry, Chuck, was that the?
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
that was my question.
It's all boards, boards, commissions, and committees, and everyone has to be in person. They can't be calling in from Arizona or Texas. They have to be in person, and they all have to be here. It's about being transparent to the public and letting them know what's going on in City Hall and throughout the city, and also, there's a lot of people that can't make this meetings, period. Either they're working, or they're disabled, or, COVID, stuff like that.
I think we're good now, Mr. Chair, if you want to start again.
Okay, I call the meeting to order at 10:46 a.m. Start the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a roll call. Dr. Elizabeth Juarez,
Present.
Board Member David Marquez. Present. Board Member Dale Turner. Here. All present in the council.
As far as audience, Mr. Chair, because I know the camera's just on you folks. We have Administrative Assistant for Parks and Rec, Miss Alexis McAdams. Councilman Montoya is also joining us. And Miss Sharon
Pepple, she's administrative aide, and Solomon Stephen Aragon, Parks and Rec Director, and myself, Chuck Grego, for Chair. So I had some questions about some items that were reviewed at the last meeting, and for clarification, we discussed field days, and Board Member Turner had elaborated that it was maintenance of the fields. And one of the questions that I had, just for point of clarification, is where does the city, the liability, I'm always preoccupied with liability of the city. If we have constituents working on the fields, is that something that the city allows? I mean, as far as the liability issue, if they're dragging the fields and those type of things, is that a liability to the city? Mr. Aragon.
Well, I don't want to answer for our city attorney, but I would say that it's probably always a liability, but any use of the fields, any individual, for example, in this case, the Little Leagues have their own liability insurance.
So it's a thing that's been in practice?
Yes.
Okay. The other question I had was, if we had started a contract, or maybe not a contract per se, but expectations for the baseball fields for the future, do we have like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, or those are just numbers? I mean, is there a plan for the fields, like where we're at today and where we want to be within, let's say, 3 years?
For the fields in general, or with the use, for example, directly to Little League?
Directly to Little League.
So directly to Little League, they have their board member elections in October. Right after those elections, then we'll meet with each board and start drafting a lease agreement for the use of the fields. At that point, then maintenance, like Mr. Chair Turner had mentioned.
Okay. The other question regarding the fields is, I know that we had discussed Keys Park was going to be going through some renovations, and I know a lot of that has started. Do we have a projected end date when the field would be the way we want it?
Hoping February 2022. We were actually hoping that it would already have been completed. we are on to our 5th contractor. Hopefully, we should get a bid, I'm hoping this week, so that we can get, part of that capital outlay money that we received would take care of new dugouts and backstops at both the fields. That'd be at the Keys Field and at the Gallegos Field, located at Keys Park. Our biggest delay has just been, there's been 2 factors. One, not getting a quote from a contractor, and 2, on the other end, there's a few contractors and they're just overwhelmed right now. We've looked out, we've tried locally, we reached out to Santa Fe, and now we're reaching out to Albuquerque.
Are these parts that hard to acquire, or the equipment, or?
No, just a matter of, we're asking for new slabs. The slabs are in very poor condition at the fields. Slabs, the installation of new dugouts, and then the new backstop.
And is there gonna be a backstop on both fields, or just the field utilized for the majors in softball?
Both fields.
Both fields?
Both fields. And it looks similar to what New Mexico Highlands University has at their fields, where you'll have the 3-foot, the decorative cinder block, and then from there up will be soft netting.
And all this has been procured, gone through the
It was a
process?
capital outlay funded project in 2019. I did inherit it in fiscal year 2021, and with COVID, it's been a little slower going with contractors.
The roads going to Rodriguez Fields, have they been graded or any work done to them?
In the complex, they haven't been graded. There hasn't been, we haven't had a high volume. The condition, in my opinion, is still good as far as for the roads. Come the spring, we'll work with our Public Works and Streets Division to help assist us with that, depending on the construction of the new fields at the complex.
Do these board presidents expect the city to do all the cutting the weeds and doing everything out there? I mean, I know you mow and you do that because of equipment, but, you know, I went out there to umpire at West, at Rodriguez, and the weeds behind the concession stand were like 10 feet tall. They look like they haven't been touched all year. And I know they probably didn't have a concession open all the time, but if we're gonna allow these places, these boards to utilize these fields, they need to maintain them. We can't do it. We let weeds get that tall, it becomes a nuisance, you know, it becomes more equipment needs to be used instead of doing it by hand, you know, out there, you know, going out there on a day where there's no cars with a weed eater and whack them down, you know, but they don't seem to be maintaining them very well.
We did the majority of the maintenance this season. I think that moving forward, it's very important to get a partnership because of the amount of acreage they're at.
What we could do is, for the, in the near future, when they, at the beginning of the season, when they sign their contracts, make it a part of the contract. That, and outline it, the scope of work that's expected from each individual group.
Exactly.
I do believe each each board of the Little League, they do have their field maintenance staff as well, correct? That are voted in or nominated in as well, who actually take care of field maintenance and understand they probably chop the field, but part of their maintenance as well, and it falls under the safety category. For safety officer, they do have to maintain the surrounding buildings with the weed patrol, trash patrol, any type of damage taking place concrete-wise, you know, so they do have a field maintenance. I'm thinking maybe what may have taken place, and this could just be a thought out of line, but during the COVID, I believe, before the Little League season started, there was talk that there wasn't even gonna be a Little League season.
And that was pretty much a final thing for a while.
Yes, so
Yeah.
what I'm maybe thinking is, what could have taken place was the lack of preparation leading up onto that. But regardless, if you're part of the committee or you're part of the board, you should still be showing interest regardless of maintaining those fields.
Yeah, they have to be maintained so that they last, but we've also talked about getting away from Little League and doing a different type of league. Has that been built out a little bit, or? I know I've been talking to people about it. Most people are for it, but I don't know, I mean.
Well, Little League's their own organization. It's not a city-sponsored event. We work in collaboration of providing the facilities. I know that within the city, we're always looking at, especially now that we'll, hopefully here in the next 30 days, we'll have both coordinators hired and on board on expanding the amount of programs that we offer for both adult and youth. And that's something that's in discussion about what further can we offer baseball, softball wise.
Have we looked into utilizing USSSA?
That, yes.
And what's the process with bringing in USSSA?
The process is we have to have an identified coordinator.
So that would be, once the coordinators, and we'd be able to utilize
Yes.
it in USSSA. And USSSA would definitely be a good program to get in here to the city of Las Vegas. I feel DRT-wise, it'll benefit the whole community, and actually it'll benefit the youth and adults in a lot of ways as well, because you're able to play multiple games. It's like All-Star Weekend, except it's not
Yeah,
All-Star.
everybody likes Little League for All-Stars to travel that. You
Yes.
do that every weekend.
Yeah, you do that every weekend,
And then you don't have two leagues. You make it one city, USSSA, you have a league, and then through those teams, you can either take your regular season team, or you can build a team to go to these tournaments, as long as they're registered in USSSA. And you play in 12 and under, 14 under, whatever it is.
yes.
And competition's way better, but we have to make sure we have a league for the kids that may not be picked up, you know, on a
Definitely.
tryout basis.
Right.
And so that everybody's allowed. But as far as tournaments every weekend, plus you host tournaments, we got plenty of fields to host tournaments. Then each team sponsors a weekend of tournaments, and that raises the money for them to pay for their tournaments to go out of town and stuff, because it costs like $200-300 a team to come to a tournament. If you become a qualifier, it's really big bucks.
Right.
You know, if we get our fields like we want them, boy, we could have, it would help everybody in town, restaurants, motels, everything, if you start hosting tournaments. And there's a lot of people out there want to play baseball year round. Now, we couldn't do it here year round, but you can do it into November.
Totally
The
agree.
GRT that would come out of that is. So, unless you have, gentlemen, have any more discussion, I'd like to move on to the next item that we were talking about last week. The other one was the parks. I know the sprinkler heads, I believe Plaza Park, there was a lot of sprinkler heads that were out, they were on order. Did they make it?
So we have parts. The challenging right now is that we're on the highest volume of maintenance because of the growing season. And we're August 30th, so we have a good 30 to 45 days left of good growing season left. At that point, then the focus will be getting to replace the systems completely. We've had some in the past 3 weeks, major line breaks. We've had a break at Lincoln Park that has been repaired. But we did have over the weekend, what we're running into a lot is individuals that will kick and break the sprinkler head. And so the system then, for a certain zone, won't provide the pressure because the pressure is being released on that broken head. But that has been repaired today. Veterans, we had a major line, about 30-foot line that broke. That got repaired, but we had another line break over the weekend. So the guys are actually out there right now at Veterans to make sure, because we were having to get a few dry spots more up on the hill, so that we can get those repaired as well.
Mr. Alderon, let me understand you correctly. We have people who are intentionally kicking and breaking the sprinkler heads?
Yes,
Wow. Okay.
because they will, not that they stick out much, but if it just got done watering, once the pressure's out of the line, the head comes down, but while the head's up, if someone goes by, hit it with something, then it breaks it at the,
Now, what time are we set at watering these parks out?
depending on the parks, it's anywhere from 8, we have from 8 PM to 8 AM. We have a 12-hour window that we utilize.
We're coming into the holiday season, and I know that we put up lights around the Plaza Park for Christmas. This year, I know our streets department utilizes their trucks to string the lights along the concourse of the park. Is there a way to have the rec staff do it so that way we're not placing those big trucks onto the grass and potentially destroying sprinkler heads?
I think it's a major concern that I've had, experiencing it with the last year, that we work a little bit closer with public facilities when they are putting up those lights. It does not make sense to get 5-ton trucks out onto the park, to get any kind of vehicle on the park. We have, that mayor and council has approved, and we have it in our arsenal right now as far as equipment, is that scissor lift that goes 41 feet. I think several of you saw us up there right before the Fiesta's trimming. That's higher than what the lights go, 41 feet. So we have the equipment currently now to keep any heavy equipment off of that scissor lift is 2 tons compared to a truck is 5.
So we'll be able to do the lights safely and...
I think we can work in coordination with public facilities. I think we will avoid additional maintenance issues come the spring.
So when that discussion needs to take place, I would like to be involved with it with you and with public facilities
And it's a discussion that we've got to start having
now.
now, yes.
Because that holiday's coming really quick. And would we be putting lights up at Carnegie as well and Lincoln Park?
I know that has been the goal from mayor and council in the past. It's a direction that I know Lincoln, we have the capabilities, Plaza, we have the capabilities, just need to confirm with the electrician, with Ernest, to make sure on, I know that we have the capabilities at Veterans, but to confirm on Carnegie.
I would like to make the request, just as my other role as the city of Las Vegas as the event planner, when these lights go up, that they do not go on until the day after Thanksgiving. So when mayor and council actually flip the switch, then somehow we can coordinate the lights all going on at the same time, because it kind of defeats the point having mayor and council flip the switch at the Christmas tree, but all the lights in the town have been on.
Throughout X amount of time.
Right,
I get what you're
yeah.
saying,
There was a point there where the Carnegie, they left them on all year long.
Right.
Because they were clear and it lit up the park nice. And that's not bad, but I see what you're saying. They need to do it all at one time.
Right, to make it, start of the holiday
Even if you
season.
kept them up all year, you could shut them off for a month and then turn them all on Black Friday or whatever day you're talking about, Yeah.
I think that it's probably would be a goal I'd like to present to mayor and council, the pricing on getting some LED lights. I know that the lighting that we currently have is very outdated. I know it's 20+ years old, and something that we can get a little bit more permanent there for lighting at all the core parks. And then maybe look at something more specific where we have a Christmas tree or wreath or something that can be, like you were saying, Mr. Chair, that mayor and council can, for lighting in order to kick off the holiday season.
We've made that request to plant a permanent tree at Plaza Park, not on the island per se, but actually in the park.
So
Somewhere almost by the
That's
or something.
that's a great question. I met out there with Mr. Chair, Dr. Spencer of the tree board. I've gotten some feedback from Thierry Montes on planting. I've met with the gentleman that wants to donate the tree to the city of Las Vegas. There are some concerns. I think it's getting put together, the plan on what it would cost in order to move that size of tree. They're looking right now, it's a 40-foot tree. I know the tree board is putting up some recommendations now. the initial recommendations, we're concerned with it. It's one of the things we'll talk about when we get to veterans, but doing a site visit this morning of veterans, the amount of water that's required because of our temperatures in order to keep the grass alive and flourishing is too much water for pinon pine species. And so it tends to drown the trees. And if you see veterans, I know that I'm putting a request together in conjunction with the tree board to present to mayor and council on starting to develop a tree replacement program at Veterans Park, because I'm really concerned that the life of those trees are, I would say, less than 3 years because of the species and the amount of water that it requires. It's too much water. And I know that Dr. Spencer has mentioned concern about that because of the amount of water that we have to place.
So the trees are getting too much water because the amount of water the grass needs
Yes.
is more than the trees?
The trees, the lifespan of the trees at the Plaza Park, those trees need to be replaced as well. Have we looked into that?
We are starting. The tree board is putting together for the different core parks on their inventory, because they've completed inventory on all the core parks. I'm not 100% sure if they've done it for the neighborhood parks, but definitely for the core parks, they have the inventory of what trees need to be replaced, need to be trimmed back, need to be cut down. So developing a plan for that.
And at what point do we report the findings to mayor and council?
I'm hoping that next month that the tree board can provide, they're going to give the direction tomorrow, I believe, in order to provide a report to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, and then you folk can make a recommendation that we can present to mayor and council.
Along the line of trees, I know it was brought up to me that as the event planner, that having 2 trees, having one at the Plaza Park and then having another tree at a Safeway parking lot on 7th and Douglas, we're killing a lot of trees, I guess the concern was. So, and then last year, I believe the tree fell on Plaza, and trying to keep the tree up on 7th and Douglas. So I don't know if that's something that mayor and council need to make a decision on, but I think if we had an official tree, and then through the event office, we're looking at other possibilities to do just trees that are just lights, but on a grander scale, and placing those at various parks. They're not trees, but they look like trees, and there's different styles of trees done in lights. So maybe we could look at something like that through Parks and Rec and the event office, once we get that.
Kind of a decorative tree, yeah.
Right. And
I believe that the final plan will be put together as far as what it's going to cost to transplant that pine tree.
But wouldn't we have the problem with the water?
That's what will be presented, and then mayor and council will make that decision.
And is it gonna be a pine tree, or is it gonna be almost like a blue spruce or a white fir?
I believe it's a blue spruce.
Okay, like a blue spruce Christmas tree
Yes.
style, all right.
It's a beautiful tree.
That would be nice.
It is challenging in the location that it's at. It is a beautiful tree. I've seen it personally when we did the site visit. Very thankful to the citizen that brought it to the city's attention, because it is a beautiful tree. We just want to make sure that monies that are invested, taxpayers' money is vested, is something that will be a high success rate.
I wonder if it's known, I don't know about it, but if there are grasses that could be replaced in some of the parks that take less water, that would match the trees. Of course, the native grasses don't take as much, but they're not as comfortable to sit on, and they're not as...
I think that's a
strong.
great, they're not as, that's where you're gonna, so right now we have a park blend. It's a mix of about 7 different grasses, and that's where you get that nice cushion, like carpet feel, a little bit more native that would require less, would be the buffalo grass, but it doesn't.
A lot more pokier and
Yes,
a lot more
yes.
stiffer, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
That's the key thing.
That's the key.
issue. Mhm.
Well, I know the Plaza Park's getting a lot of damage. the amount of use that we're putting it through, just through my events alone, we're there all the time. And
I'm
just-
very concerned because when you're talking Plaza Park, that is the oldest system that we have. It's never been replaced, but I do want to state though that mayor and council has dedicated the money in order to get all the heads replaced along with the control valves. The issue is with everything going on maintenance-wise, the valves are 4 feet deep. They're the original ones that have been there. They're concerned about everything that we've got road construction right now, the DOT project. The amount of maintenance, the events that are going on now at the Plaza Park, it's something that this fall, that'd be the first thing that we work on. But there is gonna be, with that, there's gonna be some damage to the lawn because we've got to get equipment out there in order to replace. So right now, developing a plan for the spring that we can combine hydro seeding in certain areas. We have to do it by section, so we're not closing off the entire park. But we've got to start looking at some hydro seeding and get the system in place. I know that we've started to eliminate some of the shrubs. There's been a lot of shrubs in the parks. They're nice for yards, but for parks, they become a irrigation nightmare because as they grow bigger, they start cutting off water to different parts of the lawn. We had a major issue with one at Lincoln that we're going to be removing this week so that we're not having grass die on us.
Well, that was my concern with the Plaza Park, maybe looking at moving some events, but I know everyone loves the Plaza Park. For example, this weekend we'll have Salute to Troops, and that's going to bring in 10,000+ people.
In my opinion, this is just my opinion, it's too much traffic currently for that grass to hold up. It is a hardier grass, but it's just too much there's no time for it to recover. I think that in the future, looking at how we can space out events, maybe use other locations, we can rotate. I don't know if we're equipped infrastructure-wise at other parks to do that. And of course, and then you have the natural beauty and the setting and natural amphitheater there at the Plaza Park.
That's the attractive part about it. For us to move any of my other events to Lincoln Park or Carnegie Park, we have the issue of the residents. So,
What about Safeway parking lot?
It's always kind of, well, I was gonna say it's hot, but not all year long.
right. Safeway is a possibility. We did it this week with the carnival. So that brings a whole other set of issues as well.
I think it's something that we need to, I know you already have events planned for next year, Chuck,
Yes,
but
sir.
working together
Yeah.
on seeing what we can come up with, because there has been quite a bit of, especially with the Friday night frescoes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of wear and tear on the lawn.
Speaking of events, Dr. Wados and I, we had the Senior Appreciation Day, and that went really well. We had it at the Plaza Park. We fed about 100 people, which for the first year I think was a success. We were fortunate that City Manager Leo Maestas got the golf cart from NMHU, and we were able to take our seniors on trips or tours of the Riverwalk, which they seem to enjoy. There is a tree on the Riverwalk that has fallen, so that was one of the concerns that I got calls about. It's interesting that I get a lot of calls about the Riverwalk. There's a tree down, and people are really concerned, which is nice. They keep an eye on it, and they identify things that need to be resolved. So I need to commend you that the Riverwalk looks really nice. It's very clean.
We are trying our best. It's a joint effort. It's a joint effort. I want to really thank Public Facilities, Ernest Jaramillo and his team. They've installed all of the 15 solar lights there at the Riverwalk. I know, Counselor, you showed me photos of them at night, sir. I think you even mentioned, correct, Miss Elizabeth? And the other, we're in the process of ordering the additional 37 was requested by the engineering firm that did the construction plans.
Have the police started going up and down there with their bikes or whatever they're gonna do? 'Cause I
Yes.
haven't seen any.
Yeah, I've
Yes.
seen them now.
Have you?
They're using the bicycles and the trikes.
And oh yeah, they're called trikes.
They must go when I don't go. I go twice a day, 5 miles, and I have never seen them.
I've seen them a couple of
I
times.
do see people camping there a little bit again, but
I've
not
actually
like it
started
was.
walking through there. So I've started walking and I've seen them.
Yeah, and the more we're around, I like that you say that, the more we use the park, the less comfortable people will feel camping, even though they know, they're not allowed, of course, but they absolutely can't get away with it if we're always around. It's like, it's a little harder to
It's
be
a
more
very good point.
comfortable, right?
It was interesting when we were going through, there was actually people down on the river, like the little island on the bottom, and had blankets thrown there and they were reading books and some
They're like
people.
teenagers.
Some
It was
people were
sweet. It was
drawing.
Yeah.
They were
I
drawing.
saw an old man the other day doing art, and the wife had the dog, and then another old person with him was actually fishing in there. That guy was doing the painting and stuff, and,
That's great.
you know, but then I went 20 feet up, and there were a couple camped out in there, but, you know, they might have been for the night or something, who knows?
It's nice, it's being used, so, I mean,
As far as updates for the Riverwalk, Miss Elizabeth, have you heard from Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance on, I know they had applied, have they received the grant money for the rewinding north of Bridge Street?
So they haven't heard yet. They have a really good track record of receiving funding from New Mexico Environment Department for the in-stream river restoration work and restoration to the riparian area, which is that area right around the river. They put in an application to do the same type of work that's been done from Bridge Street all the way to Prince now, and you could see the pools and you could see the effect of that, the stormwater treatment areas and everything. They put in an application from Bridge Street north, not all the way to Mills, but up to around where, I don't know the exact spot. There's some area where it's quite a long space where it's very clear the city ownership, and then there's some areas that's a little bit trickier to get into. So for now, that's where the focus is. It's about halfway up to Mills, I think, more or less, maybe a little bit more. And they're waiting to hear word, and as soon as I hear, I would let you all know. They have, like I said, a really good track record in the past decade that the Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance has been applying for this funding for the Gainas watershed, the Mora watershed, the Sapeo watershed. They've been successful with every proposal they've put in to get that kind of funding. The Environment Department is looking at the Watershed Alliance as an example of how to take care of these watersheds here. So I'll let you know. So we're fingers crossed, but you still can never count it until you actually get the funding.
Right.
So I know, just the other updates, Mr. Chair and committee. So the lights have been installed, the 15 that we had ordered in order to encumber the capital outlay money. The additional 37 should be within the week ordered. All the park benches that I believe it was 22 on the construction plans have been ordered. Those ones are a little bit more delay as far as from the manufacturer. I think we're still 8 weeks out, I believe, on those. And also this week that should get ordered, and I believe, Dr. Wados, remind me, I know it's in the 20s, I don't know the exact number, for the picnic tables, and they'll be ordered this week as well for the Riverwalk.
Oh, nice.
And that's all with capital outlay funding from the past 2 years, right?
Yes, in fiscal year 2020, Riverwalk received 238,
38.
238, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
238, and this past fiscal year 21 received 90,000. And on our ICIP, the request has been bumped up to 250,000.
Oh, that's wonderful. And just so everyone knows too, the Riverwalk, among other things, is on the city's ICIP. And this is a really good sign, and it's ranking quite high. I don't know exactly where, and I think that's not done yet. But I've been coordinating with the New Mexico Tourism Department as the city has carried out some Keep New Mexico Clean and Beautiful projects in the this last year and this year to do many things, but mainly hire youth interns in order to help keep the area clean and educate youth, younger kids. And in the process of keeping in touch with them and making the proposals, they've learned about the Guaymas River Park and the fact that we have construction-ready plans. And so I don't know exactly what it means, like the specific details of it, but I got a call from the director of the Clean and Beautiful program, and she said that her boss told her in the New Mexico Tourism Department that the state tourism department has flagged the Guaymas River Park in Las Vegas as an important tourism building project. So the tourism department wants to also encourage and support the Guaymas River Park at the capital outlay. So not just the city of Las Vegas saying, like, could you support it? They want to support it.
That's awesome.
And so I don't know exactly how they do that, if they're just speaking for it or saying we should definitely do that. But now the Senate, the legislature is going to get some pressure or some encouragement from the tourism department for our project as well. And that's because we've been keeping the youth involved. They like the way we're keeping everyone involved, and even though it's difficult to keep the trees maintained and keep things mowed and whatever has to be done, keeping everyone involved is a good sign. So I like to just mention that the capital outlay there's even that could be a long-term support year after year for doing all the things that we're trying to do. And like Stephen said, the lights that went up, we're setting examples. Those lights are not on the grid. They're solar lights, and they're dark sky compatible, so we're not lighting up the sky. And I understand that they even light up as you walk under them a little more. They're on, but they get a little brighter when you go on, when the motion sensor is off. So it's cool to set those examples and show how to take care, use the resources a little bit less, right?
Definitely. Signage. There's going to be some signage going in that we're finishing up the quotes this week on. I know there's been issues with individuals. I know it's not Chairman Turner, but there's been concern about individuals taking their dogs and then letting them off the leash. So the city does have an ordinance for that. So we're going to be getting some signage for that. We're going to get some approved signage for the loitering and the camping ordinance that the city council passed last year. So that signage will be coming. And as far as the tree, so right now we're working on trying to get individuals. In our time for training, we're going to be sending a couple folks in order to get the proper training for tree removal. But I, myself personally, will be going out there either at the end of this week or beginning of next week to remove that tree. So we'll have that tree that did fall south of the pedestrian bridge, south of Bridge Street, that will be taken out. So it is on our schedule.
For dogs, do we have those stations for the bags?
We don't. We will be placing that as well, too.
We'll have the same ones, right, that are in the
Yes.
parks.
Well, at least you have trash cans, because for people like me who carry their own bags,
Right.
It's nice to have those there, and I'll have to carry them, 2 miles down.
And I know was it 2 weeks ago or was it 3 weeks ago, Dr. Wados, that we had received the final construction plans? So I need to look at that list of inventory that they're requesting to see the exact number of the pet waste stations, and then get those. Again, this week, that's another thing to get ordered.
Yeah, in the plans, there'll be more trash cans, some more, because there's not quite enough, even though there are some. And then some of those to encourage people to pick up after their dogs. And then the signage that goes with that. That's something too that we think of everything, but someone just this morning, one of our citizens said she was riding her bicycle down the path, and someone told her, who was walking, said that she wasn't allowed to. And that's one thing we better check what the ordinance says about. I definitely remember no motorized vehicles, but check about bicycles, and then if it is allowed, maybe say we could have a sign that just says, if it's allowed, bicyclists,
to
be
individuals.
courteous
I've
or
got it.
something, just so pedestrians know that it's allowed, because
I
otherwise we
thought
get.
we had checked on that.
I think we did, right?
The bikes and the scooters, those birds, because they're not technically motorized.
Right.
Yes, no, they do fall in the ordinance that they can be on the,
Right.
any ATVs or anything, like you had said, Mr. Chair. So that's actually, I didn't mention it, but that is the third sign. But it sounds
Oh,
like we
yeah.
need to get something that talks about sharing the,
Yeah,
it's not gonna be exactly the road, I know there's, but sharing the path.
sharing the path, yeah. Now.
And I know in
thought
the,
of
in the
that.
constructions, there's gonna be actually a dirt, bicycle path that's part of that. It just
Right.
hasn't been, it's not in this first phase.
Right, right.
Growing up next to that river, there was always beaver when I was growing up. Have we had any kind of issues with the beavers?
We have, closer to Prince Street, adjacent to Farmway Feed, and I know Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance and their volunteers have gone out there along with KEB
Your
youth,
youth interns, yeah.
to put some preventive, I should say, protective cages around some of the, new, I don't want to call them seedlings because they're a little older than seedlings, but
Sort of younger.
very young in their maturity trees, because they were getting taken down by the beavers.
And the beaver do so much to take care of the watershed, so we want to encourage them to be there, but not right there where there aren't that many trees. So I haven't actually heard, because I've been away for some time, but there had been signs of beaver activity, and if there are signs of beaver activity further up north, that would be interesting to know, because I think it's encouraged, but we want to manage it a little bit.
Okay, thank you. And that was, you kind of answered my next question, was the update on the capital outlay projects. And I'd like to just make it clear that this meeting was kind of more relaxed and less formal. The next meeting will be more formal. We'll stick to an agenda and follow more Robert's Rules of Order protocol, as Mayor and Council have directed us to do.
Mr.
Right.
Chair, just to give you a little bit more on the capital outlay, I know we've talked
Yes.
about Keys Park. Right now, I didn't receive it last week. I will follow up with the engineer this morning. We are anxiously wanting to get the aerial, they're actually working with our architect right now with Site Southwest. It's, trying to think the exact name, I know the gentleman's name, but Ben Autogon with an engineering, I believe it's Hudson engineering firm in Albuquerque, where they can do aerial photography and mapping in order to help us identify the exact and strategically where to place each field and amenity there at Rodriguez Sports Complex. So hopefully we get that this week and that gets done within 30 days so that we can have that final site plan to be able to present to mayor and council in order to break ground and start construction. I was out last week, so I'm not too sure if we received the monies yet, but I know any day we've expected to receive the 3.5 for Rodriguez Sports Complex. So that's where we have the conceptual site plan that was done by Site Southwest, and the architect is awaiting that aerial mapping and photography in order to avoid this. The architect, George Ranovich, has vast experience with building sports complexes within the state of New Mexico. Also outside, but the focus is state of New Mexico. And one thing that he has advised us and that we're aware of and we want to make sure that we're aware of is not to spend excess money in earth moving.
That was gonna be one of my other questions.
Because they had a 6-field soccer complex just recently put in Las Cruces, and they spent $1.5 million on just earth moving. So he has been very appreciative of the advice from the architect in order for the city of Las Vegas to save on this initial monies in order to strategically place, based on the terrain of Rodriguez Sports Complex, so that we focus more of the money towards adding and improving the fields and the amenities rather than moving dirt.
And by chance, during that, did they call in a design locate as well to verify where the utilities were?
Yes.
also, and were they gonna be able to accommodate building either around where the utilities currently are, or?
That's a great question, because there is a major water line that goes right through the middle of Rodriguez, and so that's going to be part of it.
Nice.
So after the architect has informed me that after the aerial mapping, he receives aerial mapping and the photography, and he's working with Mr. Aragon, not myself, Ben Aragon, just a coincidence, no relation. Once he receives, they're working closely on that aerial mapping and photography, and once he completes that, he'll be able to do 30% of the final plan, and then, of course, Vice Chair Marcus, then it comes into the utility lines. Because we don't want to put something over a utility line.
Right.
One of the next question I had was,
Oh, and I'm sorry, you were talking about capital, and I have Councilor Montoya right here, and then we have Mr. Chair Turner in that same ward. For Hannah Park, the lighting has been ordered. 15 sets of lights, and as soon as that comes in, we'll be, of course, we'll work jointly with Public Facilities, because they did tremendous work, Ernest and his team.
Those
Ernest and
lights-
Sebastian, on getting those lights up. It'll be very similar to what's at the Riverwalk, except this will have more lumens. So it'll be a little brighter, but it still has that same concept of the light pollution. It stays at the park. It doesn't expand into.
that was my question.
That's a great, that just seems so important, and if we don't do it, we haven't done it always, and it has to be the county too, because just outside of the city limits, there's some lights that are just obnoxiously bright, and it makes it so we can't see the stars, and we have a dark sky area, and it just can get carried away with it.
And when it comes to the sports complex, I know that we're bouncing around a little bit, and I apologize. I did meet with a representative with Musco Lighting. They're a CES vendor. Done some major projects, of course, across the country, and they have the sports lighting as well. And they're going to be presenting a plan so that I can present to mayor and councils, just so we're aware of moving forward on the construction, exactly where the light's going to go, and it won't affect any of the neighbors that are there adjacent to the complex. With the technology and the LEDs that we have currently, right now in 2021, it's focused on just lighting the field itself.
Have we plugged into Hannah Park with the affluent line yet?
We haven't. It was discussed, and I believe that it's in the works after the DOT project. I know that it was supposed to be, and I don't want to speak for Ms. Gilberry with Utilities Director. I know that we've had brief discussion 2 weeks ago, and I believe that project's gonna, I know it's supposed to be now in the later summer, fall. It might be closer into the winter months, because they are focusing on that, getting that DOT project, because there was a deadline on that monies for Plaza and Bridge Street. Yeah, Mr. Marcus, I know that's not your department or your, have you heard anything?
I have not, no.
I know it's within the department, but that's not your,
Right. Yeah, it's-
what you oversee.
No.
I'll get follow-up and provide that.
When that's done, are we planning on seeing it?
Yes, yes. We'll actually put temporary fencing and probably close it down for 45 to 60 days so that we can get the, and that whole lawn where the goalposts are right now for the soccer will be that, and I'm going to come to mayor and council to talk about some additional funding in order to put some trees in, back into the park. So that's definitely going to happen. There's going to be some hydro seeding also once, because that same affluent line is going to be connected there at Poncho Park off of Mountain View as well. That was the same 500,000.
See a little bit of that one?
Yes.
So we did back when I was the parks director, we did it at Hannah Park when it was first built, we hydro seeded it, and of course it died, but it was good until we didn't have water.
Mr. Aragon, where are we with the 5th board member?
So mayor and council has approved Miss Ellis, Miss Rosita Ellis. It's just my oversight that I have not reached out to her before I went on leave to invite her to this meeting. So that's my fault. and I anticipate that Miss Ellis will be here.
I talked to her Friday night, and she said she's excited and ready to get over here. But I didn't know about the meeting that night, I would have told her about it. I told her about it, but I spaced it out too. I was gone all week too.
So we are the last Monday of every month at 10:30 a.m. for now, right?
Yes.
Is that our schedule?
Yes.
So with that, unless any of the board members have anything else, or Mr. Alagüen?
If Councilor Montoya doesn't mind me asking him a question, I don't know, when I was gone, I didn't follow up on it. I know that Dr. Waddles, for the subcommittee, for the Riverwalk, the Riverwalk subcommittee, I don't know, has that been presented to mayor and council yet for approval? To at least present names for a subcommittee to oversee the Riverwalk?
No, they haven't.
Okay,
We haven't gotten anybody.
okay. Okay.
I do want to say that, that Riverwalk is what's going to bring a lot of economic development, I think, to Las Vegas. I think it's a role model for other communities. And I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Barros. She's been recognized nationally. And she has done an invitation to speak in New Jersey or North Carolina.
They've made, it's called the National Outdoor Economy Conference. There's a state one also, but this is a national one, and it's in North Carolina this year. It's on the tribal lands of the Cherokee. I just found out. They invited me to talk about the Guaymas River Park because there are a lot of communities trying to do projects that can't figure out how to coordinate the community, and they think we're doing a good job of that.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
That's an honor.
I
That
know.
is very,
And I know she's the type of individual that she don't want to shine, but you know what? She has done a overwhelmingly great job. Her and Leah Knutz over there at the Guaymas River, and I think the key to all that has been that they've gotten everybody involved in it. The schools, the kids, the Sierras y Montes, the mayor and council, the community. Everybody has had their input on that project, and I think that's what they've been so successful. Now, with everybody putting in their hand on the pie, we've been able to get different kinds of funding for that. And that's not going to stop. That's going to continue. And I think everybody that I've seen that goes through there is like, wow, I didn't even know this was here. I didn't know this was happening. And stuff like that. We're getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of good comments back on the Guaymas River. But there's still a lot more to be done. There's concrete landing places for handicap accessibilities. There's, like you mentioned, the benches, the outdoor auditorium, and a lot of things that are going to be happening still in the future. But I'd like to thank Dr. Juarez for being so involved and so outgoing throughout the community. And she's also written some grants for youngsters to learn how to fly fish and so forth. So all that is coming into play as a community. And the governor, with this $3.2 million that we got from her for Rodriguez Park, that was part of the deal, is that she's pushing also for economic development. And we sold that project, and we kind of like twisted her arm and said she couldn't say no. Because we're already tired of sending our kids to other cities to play, and we need part of that economic development in Las Vegas. So she helped us out with that, and hopefully, if we spend the money right, we'll be able to move forward with another request next year. But we got to spend this money, like that little league field over here. We got those $70,000-$80,000. That was in 2019. We have a contractor on board that he has to put us as priority, and that project can get done. We have to spend that money. Otherwise, we won't be getting any more monies. Just to let you guys know, just the day before yesterday, on Friday, we got another $3.6 million. And that was through the New Mexico DOT, and that's to redo the street from Grand Avenue all the way to 7th Street on Legion Drive. That street's was done 20 years ago. I was in council then. Was part of acquiring that funding.
So the one that goes past the hospital?
Yes.
Oh,
A lot of
that's
traffic
so-
there.
That one's
Schools
so bad.
and-
Good, good.
Well, we
That's
got
good.
3.6 million, and I thank Commissioner Walter Adams for that. He is from here. They did get $28 million for our district in total. So, you know, things are moving forward. We are doing improvements. We are gonna fix our roads. We are gonna beautify Las Vegas. We are gonna start fixing sidewalks, baseball fields and so forth. So it's just a matter of like Dr. Juarez's project there on the Gallinas River, getting everybody involved, getting everybody to see the big picture, and being positive about moving forward. And, you know, I thank you for your time over here in this committee. Recreation is the number 2 issue for all citizens in Las Vegas. Number 1 is roads. Number 2 is kids, activities, recreation, and down the line. So I thank you for getting involved in the recreation committee and making your requests. Make your recommendations to Mayor and Council. Help Steve along to push these things over. Whether if he needs more money or if he needs to subcontract some parks. I know we have 28 parks in the city or so. It's hard to maintain all of them. As a matter of fact, I was going to talk to Stephen about the park on Sandoval Street. The weeds are so high too. It's a little corner park that the neighborhood uses, but nobody knows about it. A couple of teams practice there once in a while, but no, we can't neglect those properties. They're all our properties regardless. And if we're asking citizens to cut their weeds, well, we gotta cut our own. But we have 28 parks, and that's a lot of parks for, you know, a handful of people to maintain. So I've given direction to the city manager. If we have to subcontract a couple of parks to somebody, let's do it. Whatever it takes to maintain. And then we can start advertising Las Vegas to come and visit Las Vegas. But once we clean our house and we make it a nice place to come and visit, I mean, that's the way you ought to be. But I thank you guys for your
I have two
expertise.
questions for you.
Yes, sir.
When you're talking about the contracting it out, a couple of parks, what was the cost difference when I was parks director and we had Green Acres maintaining all the parks? And we had, you know, we didn't have to worry about it other than paying them. Was it way more expensive than it is now? To contract it out to a certain, you know, either, I think Parsons did it 1 year and Green Acres did it the other years.
I would say that there'd be maybe just a little bit higher, but again, the quality of maintaining them, you put the iron to the fire when you contract it out. So it has to be done, and it has to be done to a quality that's acceptable to the city. So, because this year we got so much rain, and, you know, we prayed for rain, but we
Yeah.
forgot we're gonna get weeds, right? So.
Weeds and the grass
we
is
got
gonna grow
overwhelmed.
and everything else.
I think everybody got overwhelmed on weeds.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I think there's still some people that are willing to work, and that we can open up new businesses if we have to. People encourage people to do landscaping businesses and come work for the city in those instances.
The other
Because
question I
as far
had-
as money, we've got some money to spend on our program. And even like I was gonna mention this, on the Riverwalk, there's those bridges, those planks all need to be replaced. You know, and we can probably use maybe even Rogers tax money for that. You know, if not, we'll find some other monies somewhere to replace those before somebody gets hurt or injured. Well, the concept of the Gallinas River is that it's eventually self-maintained, and we get organizations, and that's where this conversation started, is that we get organizations or a committee to oversee the whole Cainas River afterwards. And whether it's an issue about dogs, or an issue about signage, or an issue about identifying what needs to be mowed and what needs to be left alone.
Bring it to that subcommittee and let
So
them.
those, we want to make it so that the community gets involved in it, so.
And I love to hear the city supporting each other and the community, because I couldn't do any of this project if it weren't for everybody here supporting it, and then everyone around the community as well. And I love to just encourage, like, supporting our own Parks and Rec department, because they have such good values and know what to do, and just with some more staff, that helps. Plus, the city encouraging and paying for contractors to help where there's not enough staff power. Also, we in the community need to help sometimes and help work, and that's where I love that, to hear the Little League, this philosophy of helping to maintain, because I think that's what we need to do in the River Park too, is help be there and help keep an eye on things, and help also do maintenance days too, where that works. So that's something that I think all of those things together make it so we could keep the town just beautiful, but we can't just be sitting around complaining and waiting for someone else to do it, kind of thing.
And I tell you, there's been a lot of feedback on Facebook about, why don't you do this, why don't you do that, this and the other, and once you turn it around and say, well,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, why aren't you out there? Why aren't you helping us out? And once you show them the way, I mean, they're willing, there's people that are really willing to make a difference and willing to step out there and help out. So I think that's where, I think this community needs to work on, with Little League, with the River Walk, with different organizations, because people are willing to change, people are willing to beautify their own area, their own neighborhood and so forth. And it's all about each other helping each other. And my concept with the city is, you know, if Stephen here don't have the equipment or the manpower, guess what? Water or streets or whomever has that has to share the resources. We're all one city, one unit. So we can't afford to have equipment for everybody. So, but the equipment that we do have, we gotta take care of it and share it, even if that employee goes with a piece of equipment to go help out. So.
My other question is, we talked about economic development through the River Walk and all that. I think we're missing a boat on a big economic development by, Highlands doesn't want to do anything with that golf course. I don't understand why we don't take it back and maintain it. Raton does it, Clayton does it, Santa Rosa does it, Tucumcari does it. There's no reason a city can't run a golf course. And you talk about economic development. A lot of people, when they're moving to a town, if they don't see a golf course, they're not moving here. I have to go to Raton. I go all the time to go play, and I can't see how they can maintain a nice, beautiful golf course, and we've got one sitting there. It's actually in pretty good shape right now. They've been working on it, but there's no plans to open it. Hidas doesn't seem to want it. They've got a committee that wants it, but the president doesn't want it, from what I can tell. And I just don't understand why we don't step in and say, instead of giving them whatever we give them, us in the county, to maintain it and do it, why not the city take it over and get revenue out of it? Because I've turned in several plans from a professional golfer and of someone from here related to Gene Torres, who wants to keep it alive, and he runs all the Albuquerque courses now, and he showed how that thing in 5 years would be making a profit, but until then it would be close to, it wouldn't take much out of the budget to maintain it if you do it right, and you don't go all out right away. You just open it gradually, and I'm wondering, is there any plan to try to do that, or is there a committee in the city that's maybe meeting with the committee of Highlands and saying, you know, we'd like it back, you know, I know we sold it to them for $1 and that contract's over, but there's got to be something we can do to get, I mean, there are a lot of golfers. Like I said, I go to Raton and Santa Fe and Albuquerque, and I see Las Vegas people golfing over there, and I'm like, what the heck?
Well, if you recall, 2 months ago, NMHU came before Mayor and Council, and they were asking for support to funding for that golf course. Number one, NMHO is in the education business, not in the, not necessarily in golf course or any other kind of other for-profit organizations, or should be. But that meeting, I recommended, they came here and they asked for $140,000 for a 2-year trial period. And they had already gone before the county and gotten another $140,000 for a 2-year period. But under conditions that they would prove that that money is going to be accountable for after 1-year period, and then the other year we would give it. But at the end of the day, I requested that they should just turn it over to the city and let us handle it as part of our rec and park department, and we could do a lot of stuff in there. We could do a lot. But I guess their second hand or their second plan was to do some kind of housing development up on the top and bring economic homes to professors that are gonna, come and stay here. And I don't know, 3 days a week or 5 days a week or 7 days a week, but those are their kind of background plans. I don't think they particularly cared that I mentioned that they should turn it over to the city. But I think that would be an awesome idea. I think it'd be awesome for everybody. And I think that everybody should enjoy it. Kids from Mora should come, Wagon Mound, everybody that wants to golf or
We
wants
have to
play
get the youth
frisbee.
involved, or, the old golfers are already all dying off, and
Yeah.
the youth, when I was Parks and Rec director, when we had our golf program, we had to cut it into 2 weeks, because 1 week wasn't enough. We ended up getting 248 kids from the valley, from Mora, from Tecolote, all over the place, and the PGA came and handed out golf clubs on the last day. Gene Torres barbecued.
Well,
It was a nice thing, and I've got
cities
people who
now.
will come give camps for kids for free. And I mean, we've got a couple of people here in town that can manage it and run it. The guy I'm talking about, you probably know him, John Allen. He wants to retire in a couple of years, and he wants to come back. And he's got a son already here that knows what to do with the golf course. And we have the knowledge here, and it's sitting there right now as a walking thing. People are walking it and walking their dog. Walk my dogs there too, but it's beautiful. I don't understand. Is there some way we can get to meet with Highlands, with a group here, maybe with John Allen, show the numbers to mayor and city manager, and get the ball rolling on trying to take it back, or get it back?
There's already been meetings for that.
But has anything happened from them?
They don't want to, I mean, it's their property, it's their golf course, they don't want to let go.
Mr. Erdogan,
And the other thing is, when I asked, if you're planning on doing a development, well, you need to bring some water rights to the table too.
Yeah.
So, that's another issue, but.
So, okay.
I asked him to divert it at that meeting.
Yeah.
I say the best thing for this community would be if you just divert it back to a CWS.
And I think that's the right direction to go.
But I don't think that's gonna happen.
There's only one person over there that wants it, and he just wants a profit off it. Everybody else doesn't want it. So maybe we can get pressure on them.
thank you, gentlemen, for your comments. We are way over time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, just real quick on the last capital outlay, the city manager, I was out last week, did meet with a contractor to get the ball rolling, hopefully within 30 days to break ground on the Crestone Park monies that are there. Just wanted to mention it while we're still recording, but go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
So we're well over time. I thank everybody, thank the board. Councilman Montoya, thank you for joining us, sir. Alexis, welcome aboard.
Yeah. Make a motion, we adjourn?
Yes, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to
Second.
adjourn.
I second.
So we have a motion by Board Member Turner, second by Board Member Wados. Meeting is adjourned.
I don't need to be counsel as long as he's there.
Yeah.
Once he steps down, then I may go for counsel. But as long as he's there, I know we got the right person.
Oh, that's in 2 years.
And you'll go again.